Okay, a little insights pertaining to push hands training. When we're pushing hands, it's important not to resist, obviously, whatever direction one person's going in. You want to sort of utilize that to your advantage, go in that direction in order to control the person. First of all, we want to be relaxed, particularly in the waist area. Okay, but all your joints need to be relaxed. So just sitting on your legs, and so that you can use that waist and the arms, as you can see, are just following the waist and legs. That's all. The arms, you don't put any force in there. So if I want to do a technique, or if there's an opening per se, and there's something open, I want to come in and press. You see my waist turns. It brings my arms up. Waist brings my arms up. Now it's all waist and legs in there to do it. It's important not to think, to try not to think. Over time, you don't want to think. You just want to be in the moment. In order to reach that level, you have to practice a lot, because your sense of touch or listening becomes, you become familiar with the various things that you feel, and you learn to respond. In other words, you get to know what's going to happen by becoming familiar. You've experienced it before. So the more times you've experienced a certain touch, a certain feeling, a certain pressure, you become familiar with what that means, and then you can respond to it without thinking and stay in the moment. So as your familiarity grows with what's going on, your need to think goes down proportionally. Okay, so that should be a primary part of your training or practice, is to think less and become more familiar with the touch, or what we call attention or listening energy, right? So when I'm feeling him, we're listening right now. We're feeling each other. I get to know what it is he's going to do, and then I can respond accordingly with touch. Because if I think, it's already happened, right? I have to stay within the moment in order for things to work, right? And there could be no let up. So we're playing with energy here. So basically, one thing goes from one thing into another thing, over and over and over, until you get the desired results. There's no let up. There's constant blending of movement and energy. The other thing that should be part of your practice is to never stop. Okay? You should continue on. There's no point system. There's no I pushed you, I took you off balance, stop, and reset. Because that's training you in a false way. If you were in the street fighting, you're trying to use what you've learned from this tool, and you get hit or pushed or shoved or whatever, knocked off balance, you will be always trying to stop and reset. You have to stay in the moment. So if he and I are doing a practice, and I come in and I push here, and he's off balance, well, I'm going to stay on him in our practice. I'm not going to say, I pushed you, okay, now come on back and let's start over. No. What I want to do is, if I get in there and I get a push, he goes back, I want to stay on him now. I want to do something else. I want to continue to control it. Come in and press, come in, and go on and on and on. What that does is force him to stay in the game. Even though he got knocked off balance, he got pushed, he got moved, he tries to continuously recover and stay in the game, which is what you need in a real fighting situation. Is not to get hit and feel as though you're out of the game for a moment, because that gives the other person the opportunity to stay all over you, and you may never recover from that. So what I like to do when I teach my students is, when I come in, if I get them off balance, I continue to come in and do another technique and make them have to constantly try to stay in the game as best as they can. I stick here, I might move them, come in, push them, and just continue to make them always have to know where they're at, know where their center is, and recover the best they can. Over time, they will get better and better and better at doing this, and so will you. So keep those points in mind for your push hands. Don't think, hey, I got a point there, I did a good thing, I can stop, we can recover. There is no recovery. I mean, there is no stopping recovery. Stay in the game. Doesn't matter if he was to push me and take me off balance, I need to come right back and stay in the game. So if he's all over me, I have to continue to stick, adhere, follow. It's just consistent. Stick, adhere, follow issue. Stick, adhere, follow issue. It doesn't stop. It just keeps going, and that should be your training. Okay. Practice is pretty much where you just go out and do something and so forth, and repetition and so forth. Training is when you actually get your head in the game and think about it in a realistic situation, and you stay on point. So we want to stay on point when we're practicing here. When he yields, I want to go into the next thing. If he yields that, if he gets out of that, I want to go into the next thing. If he yields that, I want to come into the next thing, right? The next thing. It's just consistent, 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 consistent. Practice for 1, 2, 3, 4 hours, as much as you can. So keep these points in mind, give it a shot, and see what you think.